You think life feels heavy because something is wrong with you. It isn't. What's actually hurting you is that the old version of you is dying, and you're still reacting like it's alive. That confusion you feel, that pressure, you're not breaking, you're shedding weight you were never meant to carry. Every time you try to go back to normal, your brain panics, it craves familiarity, even if that familiarity was pain. So when healing starts, your ego calls it emptiness. It tells you something is missing, when in reality something toxic just left. And here's what no one warns you about. This heavy phase is temporary, but only if you stop fighting it the moment you understand why it feels heavier after healing. Everything shifts, but most people never stay long enough to see what comes next. You think this moment is proof that you're losing control. It isn't. It's proof that control was never meant to be permanent. You think stability means staying the same. It doesn't. Stability comes from learning how to move when everything familiar dissolves. Right now, your mind keeps searching for something solid to hold on to. A plan, a guarantee, a version of life that makes sense again. But this phase wasn't designed to comfort you. It was designed to confront you. You think the discomfort means danger. It doesn't. It means growth is demanding more awareness than you've had before. Every unanswered question you're facing isn't there to confuse you. It's there to strip away assumptions you've been living on autopilot with. You didn't arrive here by accident. You arrived here because the old way stopped teaching you anything new. That's why your patience feels thin. That's why your tolerance for meaningless routines is gone. That's why conversations that once satisfied you now feel shallow. You're not becoming difficult. You're becoming precise. And precision makes comfort uncomfortable. You think something is wrong because the noise inside you hasn't stopped, but silence doesn't come before transformation. It comes after surrender. Right now, you're in the middle of letting go without yet understanding what's replacing it. And that gap feels unbearable to people who need certainty to feel safe. But certainty is a luxury for people who aren't evolving. This phase strips you of shortcuts. It removes distractions. It takes away easy answers, not to punish you, but to force you into honesty. Honesty about what no longer fits. Honesty about what you've outgrown. Honesty about what you've been tolerating instead of choosing. You think the exhaustion means you're weak. It doesn't. It means you've been carrying identities, expectations, and habits that expired long ago. And expired things are heavy. That's why rest doesn't fully restore you anymore, because rest can't fix misalignment. Only awareness can. The reason this phase feels relentless is because it won't allow you to pretend anymore. You can't go back to ignorance. You can't unsee what you've already recognized. And once awareness begins, life doesn't negotiate. It keeps applying pressure until you stop asking for relief and start asking for truth. Truth about what you need now, not who you used to be. Truth about the standards you've avoided raising. Truth about the courage you've been postponing. You're not stuck. You're being refined, and refinement feels destructive before it feels empowering. So if everything feels unfamiliar, unstable, and exposed, good. That means the illusion of permanence is breaking. And when permanence breaks, movement begins. This isn't life falling apart. This is life insisting that you evolve, whether you feel ready or not. Every time this phase begins, your brain reacts before you even realize it, not with logic. With protection, it scans your life for comfort. It reaches for routines that once grounded you, people who once understood you, habits that once gave you a sense of control, identities that once told you who you were, but they don't fit anymore. And that's where the tension starts. You wake up feeling restless, not because something bad is happening, but because something familiar is no longer enough. You lose interest in goals you once chased obsessively, not because you became lazy, but because those goals no longer speak to who you're becoming. You feel disconnected from versions of success you used to admire, and that confuses you, because you thought wanting more meant wanting the same things harder. Instead of asking what changed in your environment, your direction, or your awareness, you turn inward and start questioning yourself. You ask what's wrong with you. You wonder why motivation feels heavier. You tell yourself you've lost discipline, focus, or drive, but that story is easier to accept than the truth. And the truth is this: nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is trying to force an outdated identity to survive in a new phase. You don't notice it because the ego is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as logic, caution, and self-doubt. Your ego isn't interested in your evolution. It's interested in keeping you recognizable to yourself. It wants predictability, not growth. It wants comfort, not expansion. So it resists silently. It creates confusion so you don't move forward. It creates doubt so you don't commit. It creates internal noise so you don't hear the deeper signal underneath it all. And that signal isn't telling you to quit. It's telling you to recalibrate. But recalibration feels like failure when you don't understand what's happening. Because nothing external is breaking. Your life might look fine from the outside. Your responsibilities are still there. Your abilities haven't disappeared. Yet internally something feels off. That's because your old identity is losing authority. And your new identity hasn't spoken yet. So you're stuck in the in-between, not who you were, not yet who you're becoming. And the in-between is uncomfortable. It offers no applause, no reassurance, no clear instructions. That's why this phase feels uncertain instead of powerful. Power usually comes after alignment. You're still shedding misalignment. The brain hates this stage because it can't categorize it. It doesn't know what label to put on you. So it panics. It urges you to go back, to repeat old behaviors, to revive old goals, to reconnect with old versions of yourself that felt simpler. But simpler isn't stronger. And deep down, you know that. That's why going back feels heavy instead of relieving. That's why forcing motivation feels exhausting instead of energizing. You're not meant to chase the same things anymore. You're meant to question why you chase them in the first place. This phase isn't asking you to fix yourself. It's asking you to stop betraying what you already know. Because once awareness grows, pretending drains you. Once clarity starts forming, distractions lose their power. That's why your tolerance is lower. That's why you feel impatient with surface-level effort. That's why meaningless movement irritates you. You're not regressing. You're becoming selective. And selectiveness feels like uncertainty before it feels like direction. This phase doesn't make you feel strong. It makes you feel exposed. Because exposure is what comes right before evolution takes shape. But here's the quiet truth. Most people miss. Real transformation never arrives with clarity. If it did, everyone would accept it. Transformation arrives disguised as disruption, confusion, and discomfort, because those are T. He only states strong enough to loosen your grip on what no longer serves you. It doesn't show up and explain itself. It doesn't give you a timeline. It doesn't tell you what the final version will look like. Instead, it starts by taking away what you thought you needed. It removes certainty before it gives direction. It breaks attachment before it reveals purpose. That's why this phase feels unfair. Because you're being asked to walk without guarantees, to move without validation, to trust something you can't yet define. The moment you stop trying to return to who you were, something shifts, not dramatically, not overnight, but deeply. Everything starts to move. Not outward, not in ways people can applaud, but inward, where real change actually happens. And inward movement is uncomfortable because it strips away noise. It removes distraction. It forces you to sit with questions that don't have immediate answers. This phase asks for patience before proof. It asks for trust before understanding. And that's difficult for a mind trained to measure progress only by visible results. You want signs, you want confirmation, you want reassurance that you're not wasting time, but growth doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to presence. This phase isn't asking you to fix yourself because you were never broken. It's asking you to listen differently, to stop listening to fear disguised as logic, to stop listening to urgency disguised as ambition. It's asking you to notice what keeps repeating internally, the thoughts that won't leave, the discomfort that doesn't fade, the pull you keep ignoring because it doesn't fit your old plan. Those aren't distractions, they're directions. Once you truly see what this moment is demanding from you, you won't want your old life back. Not because it was bad, but because it was incomplete. You'll realize your old life taught you what you needed to know, but it can't take you where you're going. And that realization doesn't feel like excitement at first. It feels like grief. Grief for identities you worked hard to build, grief for versions of success you chased honestly, grief for certainty you thought you needed to feel safe. But on the other side of that grief is alignment. And alignment changes how effort feels, how discipline feels, how purpose feels. You stop forcing, you stop chasing, you stop proving. And instead, you begin choosing what deserves your energy, choosing what deserves your time, choosing who you need to become instead of who you're trying to protect. But this only happens if you stop surviving the transition. Survival mode keeps you reactive, keeps you defensive, keeps you focused on getting through. instead of growing through. This phase isn't meant to be endured. It's meant to be understood. Because once you recognize what it's preparing you for, the discomfort changes meaning. It stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like refinement. You won't have all the answers. You don't need them yet. You only need the courage to stay present long enough for clarity to catch up with change. And when it does, you'll realize this wasn't the moment everything slowed down. This was the moment everything aligned. Quietly, internally, permanently. If this felt personal, it's because you're not watching random motivation. You're stepping into a process, a journey most people quit right when it starts to get real. So don't walk away now. Subscribe and stay with us, not for noise, but for clarity. Because the next video doesn't just explain what you're feeling. It shows you what comes after this phase and why most people never reach it. This isn't a one video message. It's a sequence. And if you're still here, you're already part of it. Stay. The next step is closer to. Han, you think, agar chaho, main isi sita ka. Shorter 10 to 12 second version. Ya stronger end screen voiceover cut. Ya thumbnail compatible final line. Bi banadeta hun. Baspatao.